I tell the guys, we're thin but mighty. Anybody that's ever asked about our program over the last few years, I've been saying the same thing. And
Person's always been a tough football team. One thing about us is we're going to play tough. We love to hit. Hitting is like preached, and it's like the gospel in person.
I don't want to have all these rules and all these things that you got to try and memorize. Just the word all in. All in.
There was a lot of, lessons being learned. But I got a group of guys who want it, and the biggest thing is sometimes they just don't know how.
It was certainly emotional, no doubt about it. It always is between us and Ocean City.
I don't like losing. The kids don't like losing. And I don't want to lose to the same team over and over and over again. We want to win a state championship.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Cal One-on-One right here on Cape Atlantic Live, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. I'm your host, Nick Kosko, and we have now officially switched to basketball season. The winter is coming. With me tonight is head coach Cameron Bell of EHT Basketball. Coach, I can tell it's winter because you have the cap on right now. So please Absolutely. Talk to you again. Looking forward to watching you guys this year. Just tell me a little bit about the offseason so far, as we are now just about 2 weeks away from tipping off the basketball season this year.
First thing I want to say thank you for having me on. I really look forward to this every year. I love watching your show. I love all the stuff that you guys do for the Cal, and I appreciate it. But I'll talk about the off-season. I thought it went really, really well. We had a really, really good summer. The fall went well with our strength and conditioning program. And the last, we had trials last week, and we're 3 days in the practice, and I'm excited.
The excitement is definitely real. So let's recap last season a little bit going into this year. Obviously, you guys were rebuilding, had a very young team last year coming off a state title run in 2023. Graduated pretty much your entire lineup, brought a very young crew into the fold last year. Went through some lumps. Guys ended up squeaking out a playoff appearance last year in South Jersey Group 4, which always is a tough bracket. When you look at last year, and again, a lot of freshmen, sophomores, some leftover guys from that 2023 team, when you look at what you guys went through last year, the growing pains, the lumps, and just getting more experience, how do you translate that into this past offseason and ultimately what you're going to see this year?
I think the biggest thing we take from last year is it was a learning process for some of those guys. You talk about that team from 2023, and some of those guys they didn't have the experience of being in some of those games, some of those pressure cooker games. Because you can't manufacture that at practice, and I think we learned a lot throughout the season. Like we were in, our record may not reflect it, but we were in a lot of those games, and it takes a while for a young team to learn how to win some of those games. But I was proud of the boys last year because they kept fighting, and I think even so far this year, I can see some of those guys, especially my seniors. I think of Jake Karp and CJ Ford, like they know what it's like to win, and that's all they want to do. And I'm excited for the lessons that we learned from last year.
So when you talk about those seniors, you just mentioned CJ Ford and Jake Karp. They've been a part of the program for quite some time. They were even getting minutes a couple of years ago, as you mentioned, when you guys made that run to Rutgers University and finished as state runner-ups. They've seen that big game experience now. They weren't necessarily starting back then. Took on a bigger role last year. Now as seniors, what kind of development have you seen from those two guys in particular? Maybe some other seniors on the roster this year that you could see, all right, there's going to be steps forward here in 24-25.
Yeah, you really I'd be remiss if I didn't add the third. And Jaden Reyes, who's Jay Nelly's brother. Yeah. I mean, those guys again, they know the work that it takes. They've been in the program now for 4 years. They know me. They know the system inside and out. And I think they're ready to finally have their moment. And they like I said, going back to last year. They learned so much, like having the weight on their shoulders. Constantly last year, I had to remind them, look, you guys aren't expected to be what the team was before. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they had some unfair expectations placed on them because of previous teams, and I think that's all washed away. And I just can't wait to see, like CJ Ford. Like I can't speak highly enough about his development over 4 years, and particularly like this summer, you just see it. Like I saw it from day one this summer, just how. The switch in his mind and completely understands who he is, what we need from him, and I can't wait to see it. And then same thing with Jaden Reyes. He actually played football this year, which was great for him It helped him mature and grow up. And Jay Carp had a fantastic season on the soccer field. So you have three guys that are varsity athletes in other sport. In another sport, CJ also played football. And then an unsung guy that people don't really know about on the basketball side is Jordan Sanchez, who was out last year because he was dealing with some health issues. But he's back this year. I think he's going to be an unsung hero for us as well.
So when you talk about the guys that have played multiple sports, especially the guys that just played football and soccer in the fall, a bunch of coaches that I've talked to, they love when their kids play other sports in the fall. They get away from basketball or wherever the sport may be, whether it's in the fall or the spring. They come back and work hard in the summer, of course, but they love when they get multifaceted. When you talk about those summer workouts, especially the guys that, maybe were playing soccer, playing football, did they do additional things on the basketball court to kind of fine-tune their game, or did you were you a little bit more hands-off and saying, you know what, focus on football, focus on soccer, whatever the case may be, basketball will come, just, maybe keep your mind sharp with the game of basketball?
So I keep the doors open for those guys. Like I make sure the times don't conflict, so I try as much as possible. Hey, if you can, we're going to have our workouts in the evening. Football's in the morning, soccer's in the morning. Perhaps you can come to the gym before you go to work, in the afternoon or in the evening. But it's completely optional, completely up to them because sometimes like they're kids, they're still kids, and it's okay for kids to be kids. It's quite all right, you know what I mean? Because I know at the end of the day, when it comes to basketball, either you can play or you can't. Obviously, you want to improve as much as possible during the summer. And someone like a CJ, who's a baseball kid as well, he's doing some baseball things, but he was there every day. Jay Carp, once soccer started taking over, I told Jake, I said, Jake, you do a lot of running, you do a lot of stuff at soccer. You just have to kind of focus your time on there. Jaden Reyes, he tried his best to do he did both all the time. Like he would go to football in the morning, and then he'd come back in the afternoon, and he's getting up shots with us. But once that calendar turns and it's official, practice starts, I'm like, nope, hands off. You guys are under the care of your fall coach, and it'd be unfair to them to have them doing something else when they should be focusing on one thing at a time.
I like that approach. Some of the other guys, you're talking about Nick Cruz, the sophomore, Jalen Bell, of course, who obviously really well. But what about the development from them? Because I know especially Jalen got a lot of time last year as a freshman. What kind of leaps have you seen from your young guys going from freshman year to sophomore year, especially guys that were asked to play a lot of varsity minutes as freshmen, which generally for a program how you have built it over the last few years, you generally don't ask those freshmen and sophomores to play major minutes. But in the case of last year, they were a big part of the team.
Well, just a little, I'll be remiss to say, just remember, from some 5 years ago, DJ Gorman walked in, and he was a starter for me from day one, and Isaiah Walsh as well. But I'll start with Nick Cruz first. So I had the luxury, so I coached soccer this year. So Nick was my JV soccer goalie, and able to see him kind of grow into his body and understand, he's a big kid, he's an athletic kid, he can move, and to watch him grow, and he's another one. He would come to workouts whenever it was possible, and I'm really looking forward to see what he can do this year. He didn't get a ton of varsity minutes with us last year, but he practiced with us every day. He got a decent amount, and then Jalen, it's one of those things, like he's mine, it's kind of a gift of a curse, and a curse of being my kid, and my kid that happens to play basketball, which I never forced him to do. He chose that on his own. But I'm like, all right, if we're gonna do this, there's only one way I know how to do it, and that's hard. and that's hard, and I'm gonna ride you. And to his credit, he handles it well. Like he handles it very, very well. He had a really, really good spring, and he had a fantastic summer, and he had a really good fall as well. Like he's a kid that. I always feel some type of way because he is mine, but he's just a worker. Like he's a gym rat. Like most coaches' kids are. He's a gym rat.
I like hearing that a lot. When you talk about this preseason development now and what you guys are going to be doing over the next couple of weeks to really fine tune before the regular season tips off, is there more emphasis on skill development? Are you trying to get these guys into basketball shape? I know over the course of a long season, it kind of just comes with time at that point. What are you primarily focusing on right now as we're about 2 weeks and change away from the season?
So we're kind of in a unique spot. So I was able, even with soccer, to carve out time where we were able to do some conditioning stuff. Mondays, Tuesdays and Thursdays. So some of those guys that were at those workouts, like they're already in pretty good shape. Like they're in, I think of Jalen and Jake and Nick Cruz and even Caesar, like they're in really good shape because I run the heck out of them. And so it's kind of nice. And because they all played so much last year, we were able to hit the ground running on Monday and get right into skill development and running through our offense and how we're going to look offensively, how we're going to look defensively. It's kind of reminiscent of that 22 team with Carlos Lopez and those guys where they knew it. They came off that COVID year where it was shortened, but but because we had so much time and they already had so much in the coffers that they knew and remembered that we're able to kind of move instead of start back at A, we're able to start at D. So and these guys are kind of the same way.
This season's a little bit different just because you had the expectations of, go back to 2023. Everyone knew this team was going to be really good. You win the sectional title. Of course, you get to a state championship. Last year, a lot of roster turnover, rebuilding, kind of a new phase, new era for EHT basketball. Again, a lot of young bucks. This year is a little bit in between, and I'm not going to make maybe direct comparisons. You just mentioned DJ Gurman, who was a 4-year starter for you, and you saw how he developed as a player and how those teams developed around him as well. A lot of players came into their own and developed along the way as well. Do you sense a similar trajectory? Maybe not necessarily, right at the second where you're going to compete for a state championship this year, but when you look at going back to DJ's freshman year, for instance, and then you saw the matriculation, of course, how it just rose each year. Do you sense something similar like that compared from last year going into this year?
Absolutely. Like I can see. I'm not. I tell coaches in the building like I'm not good at many things, but one thing I'm decent at is kind of developing and helping guys get better. And we're lucky to have a roster of kids that just want to get better, like from the varsity guys, JV guys, and the freshman guys. And you're right. And I do see that same kind of fire in those kids that they just want to get better. They really grasp and dive into all the skill development stuff that we do. And yeah, I do kind of see those same remnants.
Now, looking ahead to the season where, we talk all day about the players, but I'd be remiss if I didn't allude to your staff. Well, how is your staff adjusted this year? And again, I know you go from playing at the highest of the highs a couple of years ago, changing pretty much everything up with the whole new cast of characters last year, and now you see some familiarity and continuity going into this season. How is your staff adjusted from last year to this year?
So I'm pretty much bringing the same staff back. We are one of my longtime assistants, Coach Chris Pascaletti. He unfortunately he won't be with us this year. He's been with us for a long time. He's a busy man down in he's a principal down in another district, and work is work. So we'll miss him, but the rest of the staff is there. But we did so I have three. We have three guys that played for me on the staff now. Drew Hickman, who played for me my first year. Brandon Oliver, Malik White, and in and out will be Michael Dodd as well. I don't remember the Michael Dodd name of those years as well. Those were the years where we were we were coming. Everybody knew we were coming. And then obviously Coach Maria Edwards, who's been with me from day one. She's still there, and then Coach Jacoby, who's my freshman coach. So it's nice. Those guys, particularly Drew, Malik, Brandon, and Michael Dodd, who was my point guard for so long, they've seen the ups and downs. They know they can help translate to some of my kids when I'm a little too ticked off and I'm not expressing myself correctly. They can translate for those guys. So it's great having all of them and Coach Maria with me.
Do you like having a coaching tree like that? Now, I don't know what their future plans are in coaching, but especially your former players now coaching and working underneath you. Who knows if they become head coaches, whether they take over for you one day or they go to another school and take over their own program. But do you like that sense of familiarity rather than maybe pulling somebody from an outside district? I mean, not to say you would never do that, but do you like saying, oh, you played for me, you know how this works, but I can also learn from you because you've seen what I do in action as a player. Now you're going to be a coach.
100%. It's funny you say that. I literally, when I ended practice today, I was talking to our athletic director, Kevin Rutledge, telling him that watching Drew, I was just observing Drew, coaching up a drill and watching how he's really growing, finding his coaching voice. It kind of helps that he also coaches baseball with Coach Carmichael, which is Carm does a fantastic job in his program. and to see Coach Hickman really start to come into his own, and then Coach Malik White also, he's also another guy that it's great to see them and see them kind of grow and mature. So yeah, I love having guys that played with me. Yeah, again, like I'm not opposed to bringing somebody in if should we need to, but we have such a strong alumni base that I don't think that's necessary at this point.
Yeah, the alumni network, I know as well too. It's absolutely vast, so you can pretty much find anybody if you look in the right place. I believe you guys open up with Mainland on the 17th. Correct me if I'm wrong, and then I believe that game also is at EHT. So when you open up at home like that, basically it's a double effect right there. Home opener, season opener. What's that going to be like for you guys? Debuting, this new, again, not a new roster, but a new team and a more developed team here in 24-25.
I mean, we're like opening night is always an exciting night, and to open up at home is I lavish it. I love it. I think the players are really excited. They were kind of talking about it yesterday. Because it's 2 weeks from yesterday we open up at home against Mainland, and for it to be Mainland. I am going to miss Danny. I'm going to miss Dan Williams, but Coach Feld is great. I know him as well. So it's nice to have a familiar opponent. I know some of those players over there, and it's going to be our youth night as well. So the gym should be. So it's a Tuesday night. The gym should be rocking. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. You can't really beat Mainland versus EHT. And then we get Atlantic City Thursday night, so that's great.
I mean, you're talking about a banger of an opening of a schedule right there. A new look Mainland team. Obviously, Atlantic City bringing the talent they have in the gym. They were an exciting team to see last year. One more on the schedule, Coach. I mean, again, you have all the local teams opening, but it's great to play the old school Cal teams, of course. Obviously basketball sells to Cal compared to football, but it's great. It's great to play those local teams, have those local rivalries early on in the season. Are you guys doing any type of showcase events middle of the season? What's on tap for the meat part of the schedule?
So it's funny. We open up. We go Mainland, Atlantic City. Then we have Shawnee in the Ocean City tip-off, and then we have Woodbury down in Wildwood. We always go to Haddonfield every year for their Christmas tournament, and then we're playing Toms River North down at Middle Township for the MLK showcase. We'll be at Holy Cross. We're actually playing against Holy Cross in the Holy Cross Prep Showcase, and we have Ewing up at RV in the Coach versus Kansas. A Coney Classic.
Okay, yeah, I love hearing that. I love seeing these teams really branch out. As you guys mentioned.
You have to.
Yeah. When you branch out, I mean, again, not necessarily teams that you might see in the playoffs down the line, but is it I'm pretty sure Middle Township's done a great job with this, especially last year when they made their playoff run over the last couple of years. They try to seek out competition. They've seeked out private schools before. I know other schools around the area have done the same thing, whether it's private schools or teams from out of state. How far in advance do you do that? I mean, is that something where you work on like last season's, like, all right, next year's schedule? This is what I need.
Yeah, I mean, we literally start working on the schedule right before the end of last season. We kind of had the Coney Classic already in. Ocean City Tip, all those things they all were already in the works before the season even ended. So yeah, it's done well in advance.
I love hearing that. Coach Cameron Bell of EHT Basketball with me here on Cal 1-on-1, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. Coach, looking forward to watching you guys in the hardwood this year. It's going to be hopefully a great season for you guys, bouncing off of last year. And again, it's always exciting when EHT gets to open against Mainland. And of course, they're going to have to check that out December 17th at EHT at 6 p.m.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nick, again, like I said, I really appreciate the opportunity, and I thank you for having me on. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you in the gym.
I would love to be out in the old alma mater. That is for sure. Watching you guys drain a couple threes and put on a good show for all the fans around the area for sure.
Once an eagle, always an eagle, Nick.
That's absolutely right. Can't tell other people that, but I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that, and then of course the public that's watching this. But I'll take that. Coach Cameron Bell will be right here on Cal 1-on-1, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. We'll see you next time.